And the other thing is, critically, you're doing it shoulder to shoulder. Do you know this thing about the difference in communication style between men and women and boys and girls? Like men go shoulder to shoulder, women go face to face. It's interesting how we're set up here. Once you've seen this, you can't unsee it.
Oh, that's interesting.
Right,
yeah, because guys don't usually look at each other when they're sharing information that much.
No, because actually that's a little bit of a threatening stance for men. Like if men go face to face, that might indicate some aggression or some it's a bit like you're intimidating each other a little bit, right?
Yeah.
And there's a role for that probably.
When you talk to someone, you rarely stand and look directly. There's always a little bit of an angle.
Not if you're male. So we learned this the hard way. Like even before I had any of the data, and God, I wish I'd had this data when we were raising our kids, right? But my wife would our kids would come home from school, right? All boys, and the two that were in high school and middle school at the time, they'd come home and they'd sit across the breakfast bar from her, right? And she'd be feeding them stuff, she'd feeding them protein, have some protein, and then she'd stare at them like this and be like, "How was your day? How was your day?" And they'd be like, "Yeah, fine." They'd look down, "Fine. Did you learn anything?" "I don't know." Right? Nothing. Right? Just nothing. And then later on, we'd be driving with them somewhere or watching a game or video game or just something like that, shoulder to shoulder. Mm-hmm. And they would say, this weird thing happened today, Dad or Mom, right? It's weird. This girl said this thing at school today. Interesting. And what we now know is that that's very, very common, that actually the communication style that men are most comfortable with is less face-to-face and it's more shoulder to shoulder. Now, think about this. Fishing, road trips, watching sports, sitting on the bench, exactly, shoulder to shoulder. It is the only explanation I have for the existence of golf. What is golf about? Do you play golf?
Mm-mm.
Okay, good.
I'd be willing to play it, but I can't even calm down right now.
But it's like, again, men have to be doing something else. And they have to be doing it if you go to a party now, you'll not be able to unsee this. Watch how the men stand in relation to each other. And there are people who've done whole PhDs on measuring the angle. We always stand a little bit catty-corner, like a little bit of an angle, because to go face-to-face is threatening. Now, women, on the other hand, very comfortable face-to-face. Wow. Walk into a coffee shop and count up how many people are sitting opposite each other, staring each other in the face, and then see what the gender is of them. Much more likely to be women. Now, it's not like one is good or bad.
Right.
But what you don't want is a mental health profession, like psychology or whatever it is, based on the presumption that we're all supposed to sit like this. And so a lot of male therapists now, they're taking their male patients out for a walk.
That's the thing to do.
Walk and talk.
That's the best.
Walk with them. Don't sit and stare at them.
I've been saying that for years.
As a man, it's like, we don't want that.
Yeah, Mike's girlfriend's a therapist now, and she and I, whenever we really needed to discuss stuff, we go on a walk. Because you're in motion already, there's a part of you that feels like it's moving forward, even if you're sharing something that's troubling. Because sometimes you're sitting in a sedentary you're just sitting there in a room somewhere. It's like, you leave, you haven't really gone anywhere, nothing's happened, Yeah. But on a walk, you're making progress no matter what, even by just staying in motion.
Same as a road trip.
Yeah.
But they've now got this physiological element to it too, which is that just how you're relating to each other physically, especially for men. It's just very important that we are.
I'm going to try that next time I'm with my therapist in a room. It's like, maybe it's easier if I'm just able to share and have somebody there, right? I remember one time I was talking to my brother, and I didn't know that this had been important in my life, but he said, "Hey man, I was having a tough day, man. I pulled over. I was kind of falling apart a little bit." And he's like, "Hey man, I can just sit here on the phone with you. We don't have to say anything, right?" Mm-hmm. And he's like, "I have some time, right? I have an extra 10 minutes. I can just sit here with you. We don't have to say anything, and I can just be here with you, And man, it was like a dam inside of me broke, It was like literally there was tears coming out of my toenails, it was just like, you didn't realize all the time you needed someone just to be there.
Yeah.
I didn't need to hear him say anything. I didn't need to hear how they thought I felt.
Yeah.
I didn't need to hear a response to anything, no judgment, nothing. I just needed somebody there, And it was like, I remember my hands vibrating. It shook me so much,
You're very lucky. That idea of being with somebody not necessarily for them. I think sometimes we think like we've got to be for them, we've got to be telling them what to do, we've got to be advising them, we've got to be advocating, like somehow we've got to be doing something. And sometimes it's just being with. And for them to know that I'm with you, right? That's an incredibly powerful statement.